Hassan Yussuff, good to see you. Thanks for coming by to speak with me today. Appreciate it. Let's start with your remarks to the convention this afternoon. What was the message you wanted to give these delegates here about, I suppose it's kind of twofold, what happened to the party in the last election and what path you think it needs to take moving forward?
Well, I think it was important to address that because we were all disappointed in the results of the last election. You couldn't avoid a conversation in that regard. So I thought I wanted to address that question. And more importantly, you have to move forward. And also wanted to remind people the foundation of our relationship was based on, of course, these important social values. And those values remains as critical today, but at the same time recognizing delegates will be leaving here on Sunday morning, or sometime Sunday afternoon. I wanted to ensure that people didn't live cynical and jaded, because regardless of what may happen between now and Sunday, we have to come together and move forward, because that's not a choice we have. That's the reality of the reality in rebuilding the party.
Before you came to convention, you said you thought Mr. Mulcair had to go. Do you still think? I think you said you won't get 60% of the vote. Do you still believe it? My position is still strong. Tom is going to give a speech here on Sunday morning to the delegates, and I hope he will address what happened in the election, so we can hear from him in a very clear way what went wrong. Listen, all of us make mistakes in life. I'm no different than Tom and anybody else in a leadership position. But ultimately, when you're asked to explain yourself, you got to provide people with a more comprehensive answers to how he saw the election. More importantly, why did they adopt the strategy they did? I think delegates really want to understand, because I don't think he deliberately wanted to lose the election, but it was a result of what strategies they adopted. So it's critical that he has to address that. Delegates obviously will make their decisions here. Is it one person, one vote? So people, again, my job was not to use my speech to go after Tom. I already made my statement, because I think people know my views, and more importantly, it's been out there. Everybody's been talking. Well, you did sort of do it in a veiled way. Well, I mean, you said that I think you said elections aren't won in parliamentary committees or in question period.
Yes.
And Mr. Mulcair gets a lot of marks for his performance in question period.
And I applaud him for the work he does in Parliament, but there's also another side of that work, equally on the ground. And I'm trying to remind the party there's two sides to the building this party has always had in its tradition. It's the grassroots that has kept this party alive for its entire history, and more importantly, how you need to balance that responsibly both in the House and in committees. Doesn't mean you don't have to do it, but you also have to figure out what's the greater balance.
What was Tom Mulcair's biggest failure in the campaign?
Well, I think the message. The party had a very progressive position in the last election. Canadians never heard about it. They never heard from the leader. They didn't see it in the advertisement. And I think it really did a disservice, because the Liberals had a brilliant campaign in getting their message out. Our message didn't get out to the public, and I think people believe that our platform were progressive. The one thing that many of activists have shared with me is the deficit, the party's position on deficit. And no one could explain to me up to today, where did that come from? It wasn't the position going into the election, but it certainly evolved.
It's party policy. It's in the book that the party will run balanced budgets unless of severe economic emergencies.
But I think there was a recognition that in the context as the election was evolving, that the economy was certainly as a bit of a tailspin, and fundamentally had to figure out what would we do, because had we won on the mandate to balance the budget, we would have to continue the austerity of the Conservative government, which would be a devastation for the party grassroots across this country, plus public sector workers who's been beaten up for the last 10 years. So, I mean, those things are critical for Tom to address on Sunday. I hope he takes the time to tell people what his thoughts were, so they can appreciate the strategy he adopted.
But he can't win back your support Sunday, can he?
Well, no. I mean,
you already said. You said people make mistakes, but often when you make a mistake, you get another chance. He doesn't get another chance.
No, well, I think he does. Once the delegates makes a decision here on Sunday, I will respect that decision. Tom is the leader continuing this party. I'll go over and extend my hand of solidarity to work with him going forward.
But what if he gets 64%?
Well, he hasn't said clearly as to what percentage he needs to remain as leader. He's been very musing about.
So if he got 60%, you said he won't even get it. Yeah. If he gets 60%, says I'm staying. Does he have your support?
Yes, he does. If the delegates vote to give him a mandate to remain, I have no choice but to respect that, and more importantly, I would work with him in a very genuine way, without any hesitation. And
so 60% to you would still, regardless of the election outcome in the past, 60% on Sunday is still, you would view that as a mandate to proceed?
Well, certainly he has to heal the 40% that haven't voted for him, and he has to figure out how he's going to do that. But clearly, we should leave here on Sunday united in the way forward. And regardless of what the decision is, I'm going to get behind the decision 100%.
What do you think of this notion? We'll finish on this notion that really it's you've got a two-stage sort of process here that people can afford to say, look, we don't want to really throw a leader out. NDP doesn't do that, but if we want, we can do it in 2018. So he can get a reprieve now, and at the next review, people could say, you haven't come far enough, we want somebody else.
Well, I think that folks have to contend with the tightness of the time frame leading into the 2019 election.
Do you think a year's enough if Tom Mulcair stays till 2018 and then goes? Is that too tight?
Well, I think it's very tight. I also think that you would have to have an experienced person come forward who can carry this, that would not require an opportunity to learn some of the rules of being a leader in a context going into election. I think that's always a challenge, but nevertheless, if it happened before, it could happen again.
Yeah, so the labor movement is sort of divided on this. You represent 3 million workers in an umbrella organization. A lot of unions under your umbrella leaders have said they're actually here to support Tom Mulcair. Are you actively working the convention saying Mr. Mulcair should go?
No, I'm not doing that.
Okay.
I think I've made my point, and I think the delegates are here to make their own decision. This is the democratic process. Each one of them have a vote, including me. Yes, and it's true. Many of my leaders in CLC have said they're supporting Tom, and I respect their decision. We are an open movement. We're an open organization. We have to have, opportunity to debate the differences that we have, but it shouldn't fracture our relationship on a go.
But you're voting against him, clearly.
Well, I'm going to listen to what he has to say. I've said he should go, but I'm going to listen to what he has to say.
So you could change your mind?
I could change my mind if he gives a compelling speech about the failures of the party in the last election that obviously that needs to be heard. I haven't heard the speech.
Right.
I haven't heard his explanation as to why.
Well, some people are going to listen to this and say, you know what, it would have been better if you think you might change your mind, it would have been better not to say something 10 days ago.
But to be fair, I think given the failures of the party in the last election, we were the official opposition. We had close to 100 seats after the 2011 election. We had a lead in the polls. We had the largest budget in the history of the party.
Yeah, I know that, but what you're saying today is I could change my mind Sunday.
Well,
some people will say, well, why didn't you wait till Sunday?
No, but in fairness to me, we are in a crisis in our party. And a lot of delegates were saying, well, what's the way forward given how close we came?
Well, it doesn't sound like you can be convinced easily then.
Well, no, to be fair, I'm not really convinced easily. Right. But I'm also one of these people I'm not belligerent, nor am I dogmatic in my position. I've always maintained an open position to listen to the arguments. And I did meet with Tom and had dinner with him. And only thing Tom has said to me, Hassan, I take responsibility for what happened in the last election, nothing else. Now, he may be more substantive on Sunday. I don't know what Tom's speech is going to be. But more importantly, I have enormous respect for him as an individual. I've worked very closely with him in the years that he's been the leader of the party. He wins a review on Sunday. I will extend the hand of solidarity to work with him going forward.
All right. Hassan Yussuff, good to see you again. Thanks for coming by to speak with me. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.